Some verses stir the mind, while others strike directly at the soul. Verse 9 of Psalm 137 belongs to the latter. Its words deliver an immediate shock. How can a sacred text contain such harsh imagery, invoking the death of infants at the height of a lament? For centuries, many have read this verse as an isolated fragment, torn away from its history, its emotional weight, and its narrative frame. When separated from its context, it becomes an accusation against God, even though it may not reflect His voice at all, but the cry of a wounded people crushed by conquest and exile. To grasp how drastically a text can be distorted when removed from its setting, consider another passage. It is written in the Second Testament, "I did not come to bring peace, but a sword." Matthew 10, verse 34. On its own, this statement could suggest that Jesus advocates violence. Yet in context, it reveals something entirely different. The division truth brings when it confronts a world unwilling to receive it. Likewise, Psalm 137 is not a divine command to commit cruelty. It is the lament of a shattered nation, the voice of Israel remembering what it endured. The purpose of this documentary from HAOLAM is to uncover the real meaning of the text, to hear the psalmist's voice clearly, and to recognize what God is not saying. For the words of verse 9 do not come from God. They rise from human grief, not from divine instruction. And to understand this fully, we must return to the origins of that grief. Babylon, the empire that brought Israel to its knees. Thus begins our inquiry. The historical context: criminal Babylon. Chapter 1. The historical context: criminal Babylon. To understand Psalm 137, we must step back into the world that birthed it, a world shattered by one of the most ruthless empires of the ancient Near East. Babylon was not merely powerful, it was methodically violent, deliberately humiliating the nations it conquered. When Nebuchadnezzar seized Jerusalem, nothing was spared. Deportation meant tearing families apart, not relocating them. The temple, the heart of Israel's worship, was burned to ashes. Women were assaulted, the elderly slaughtered, and children executed in brutal acts of terror. It is written in the First Testament, in 2 Kings 8 and Lamentations 5, that Babylon's cruelty reached Israel's youngest. Entire generations vanished under the violence of war. In Hebrew culture, an ancient expression exists: galut, meaning exile, not only geographic displacement, but a fracture of identity and spirit. Psalm 137 arises from this galut. It is not a calm reflection, but the outcry of a nation traumatized beyond words. By the rivers of Babylon, Israel was forced to sing for its captors, while memories of burning streets and murdered children flooded their minds. Verse 9 comes from this traumatic soil: raw, unfiltered sorrow. Thus, the essential question naturally follows: who is speaking in this psalm? Chapter 2. Who speaks in this psalm? When reading Psalm 137, one essential truth must be stated clearly. The speaker is not God. No commandment is delivered, no divine will is declared. What we hear is not the voice of heaven, but the cry of human suffering. The speaker is not a prophet either. Prophets speak with purpose, carrying God's message even when it confronts or wounds. Here, however, the voice offers no revelation, no instruction, no warning. It simply breaks under the weight of memory. What emerges is the voice of an exile, a survivor whose entire world collapsed. His words come from the inner place biblical language sometimes calls nephesh, the wounded soul, the fragile center where trauma settles and refuses to be silenced. Psalm 137 is therefore not divine legislation. It is a confession of pain, an emotional release from someone crushed, humiliated, stripped of home and hope. This is not theology. It is testimony. It is the raw sound of a man searching for meaning amid ruins that no longer answer him. To move forward, we must now understand the framework in which this voice is expressed, the literary form that shapes and explains the lament. Chapter 3. The literary genre, a psalm of lamentation. To grasp the meaning of verse 9, we must first understand the genre of the text. This is a psalm of lamentation. The language is poetic, emotional, and often hyperbolic. Exaggeration becomes the natural vocabulary of a soul overwhelmed by grief. It is not meant to describe literal action, but to reveal the emotional magnitude of suffering. This intensity appears elsewhere in the First Testament. Jeremiah accuses God of deceiving him. Job curses the day of his birth. Habakkuk cries out, "How long?" Habakkuk 1 verse 2. Their words are raw and unfiltered, and God does not approve these emotional outbursts as moral instruction. They express pain, not divine mandate. It is no different from someone today saying, "I feel like breaking everything." No one hears a command. They hear a desperate heart reaching its breaking point. Psalm 137 belongs to this same tradition. It unveils trauma, not doctrine. It reflects the inner collapse of a wounded human being, not the intentions of God. And as we move forward, this distinction leads us toward a crucial question. What did the law actually say about the value and protection of children? Chapter 4. The Law of Moses forbids killing children. To understand why verse 9 cannot be a divine instruction, we must look at what the law given to Moses actually teaches. From the foundational commandments, God condemns murder without nuance. It is written, "You shall not kill." Exodus 20 verse 13. A universal principle, human life is under God's authority. Scripture also fiercely rejects the pagan practice of child sacrifice. It is written, "You shall not give any of your children to be passed through the fire." Leviticus 18 verse 21. Such acts are described as a desecration, a violation of everything sacred. Another cornerstone of the law is the prohibition of personal vengeance. God declares, "Vengeance is mine." Deuteronomy 32 verse 35. Justice is removed from human anger and placed into divine hands. Across the entire law, God protects the life of children, forbids killing them, and denies individuals the right to avenge themselves. How then could God demand in a psalm what he forbids everywhere else? The contradiction itself proves that the verse is not a divine mandate, but a human cry, shaped by trauma. And this brings us to the challenging opening of the next passage. What does "happy is he who" truly mean? Chapter 5. Happy is he who. What does the verse really mean? The opening words of verse 9, "Happy is he who," may sound shocking. Yet within the tradition of lament psalms, this expression is common. It belongs to a poetic style that uses irony and exaggerated imagery to articulate longing for justice in a world ruled by violence. It is not a cry for blood, it is the emotional language of someone waiting for righteousness to prevail. The psalmist is not seeking personal glory, but retributive justice, justice against an empire that slaughtered children without mercy. He is not saying, "Let me do this," but rather, "Let justice come, one day, by God or by history." The image of infants dashed against the rock is also symbolic. In prophetic literature, a violent fall against the rock represents the sudden collapse of a nation. It is written, "Their children shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes." Isaiah 13, verse 16. Isaiah was describing the future downfall of Babylon, the very empire that had destroyed Israel's own children. The imagery is horrifying, but it portrays historical judgment, not divine approval of violence. An ancient Hebrew concept, mashal, refers to such symbolic expressions, metaphors meant to shock, illuminate, and awaken. A mashal is not a command, it is a poetic image. Psalm 137 speaks the confidence that no oppressive empire lasts forever. And indeed, Babylon would fall. This reflection leads naturally into the next theme. How does God respond when human anger erupts from deep wounds? Chapter 6. God responds to human anger with compassion. When human anger erupts in Scripture, God does not silence it. He does not rebuke the pain. He receives it, and then He reshapes it. The lament psalms reveal a God who listens to cries before He calls to peace, a God who does not fear emotion, but refuses to let rage become righteousness. In the Second Testament, Jesus pushes this even further. It is written, "Love your enemies." Matthew 5, verse 44. This is not denial, it is transformation. Jesus does not erase suffering. He redirects it toward a healing greater than vengeance. For vengeance has never restored anything. It only multiplies ruins. God, however, restores. He rebuilds shattered lives, lifts what has fallen, and heals what violence has broken. His answer to destruction is not retaliation, but redemption. And this redemption naturally brings us to our final step, understanding what Psalm 137 still speaks into our world today. Conclusion. Psalm 137 is not God's will. It is the cry of a wounded people. A text where suffering speaks louder than clarity, where language becomes the raw echo of trauma. Nothing in this psalm commands violence. It reveals the depth of human pain pushed to the breaking point. God never commands the killing of children. Throughout Scripture, He protects life, condemns violence, and forbids personal vengeance. The psalm reflects not divine desire, but human devastation. If the human heart can imagine such extreme images, it is because it has been shattered by injustice. God does not approve these emotions, but He heals them. He restores what anger distorts and rebuilds what sorrow fractures. Psalm 137 is not a command. It is a mirror of our wounded nature, our brokenness, our limits. Yet within this darkness shines a truth. Forgiveness is not weakness, but the freedom God offers to those who refuse to be chained to their anger. Thus ends this reflection presented by Chokhmah, and a new question rises before us. Did God authorize slavery? Our next investigation begins there.
תנחנו ולא נחסר לנו טוב כי אתה עמנו